So now that we've kind of pointed out the hypocrisy that surrounds religion, we now have to take a deeper dive into the history of what actually happened. And this is going to act as the fundamental groundwork or base in which everything else is going to make sense. Clarky, my Clark. Before we can actually dive into what is being covered up, we have to understand who covered it up and why. So pay attention because it's very, very important.
I think it's important to take note that Jesus despised religion and despised the organization of the church. This is so abundantly clear from reading Matthew 23, where he tells his disciples specifically not to trust religious leaders. In this statement, Jesus tells the people to follow the laws of Moses if they're being taught, but don't follow the example of the teachers because they don't practice what they teach. And just based on the facts from my previous video, we can see that clear as day. Jesus continues and says that these religious leaders are responsible for shutting people out from the kingdom of heaven, alluding to the fact that the church is the whole reason why people don't know the truth. He iterates this as well in the Gospel of Thomas, where he says, "The Pharisees and the scribes have taken the keys to knowledge and have hidden them. They do not go in, and they did not permit those desiring to go in to enter." And he goes on to say, "You should be clever as snakes and as innocent as doves." He's basically saying here that those that are preaching the supposed gospel and writing the gospel, they are not even accepting God. They're doing the exact opposite of that, and then they're hiding the truth so that other people cannot access God. I mean, does nobody find it suspicious that Vatican City is actually its own country? A country that has a bunker that stores all of our religious texts and relics that we never are allowed access to? Not to mention that they sit on literal golden thrones and all the money in the world while they pray for the poor. Yet, it is revered as a holy place. Does nobody question the fact that the Pope speaks within a hall that represents a serpent equipped with fangs, in which he sits in between the fangs and the mouth of the serpent in front of a very dark-looking statue that is supposed to represent Jesus? Nobody recognizes the pagan symbolism of an obelisk in the center of Vatican City, which is also in the center of a cross of the zodiac, which represents the cycles of the sun. There is a historical explanation for this. There's an explanation for why there is pagan symbolism at the Vatican. There's an explanation for why they secretly worship the sun. And this is something I will get into in another video. So in order to get to the bottom of this, we have to go back in history. We have to see, how did the Vatican become so powerful? How was it that they are now sitting on 1/3 of the global wealth? And actually, we don't even really have to look that hard to find how this happened. You see, after the Romans crucified Jesus, they established themselves as the authority of man and the governing figure. This is documented in Romans 13, where it says, "Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God." So here they're stating that God has appointed them as the authority of man, and everybody has to submit to the governing authorities to be considered doing right by God. So Romans 13 goes on to say that this is also why you pay taxes, for the authorities are God's servants who give their full time to governing, Give to everyone what you owe them. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. I mean, they're basically saying here that God appointed us as the authority, the governing authority of man. And by the way, God demands that you have to pay us money. I don't know about you, but I've never heard a bigger load of bullshit in my life. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned, as in the future I will continue to release videos that will break down the illusion and eventually will reveal the truth, which everyone has a right to. May the truth come to light, and may the truth set you free.